and there's different devices that the town can use to help in that regard, and including the computer and the internet. There's some languages there. We have identified one of your officers that can speak Spanish fluently.
All right, thank you very, very much. Also here, we have tonight, Ms. Ruth Avalon. Would you stand up, Ms. Avalon? Ms. Avalon is competent in both English and Spanish. And she has been in the community for a while, back and forth and all, and has been assisting people. And she's starting a business of doing that. So I just want to draw attention to the fact that the resource is available to Scotland Neck as well as to around and surrounding areas, and she's starting up something there. And when I read this today and all, and I thought about it and all, I talked to Ms. Jackson, and I realized that I had already talked with her, and it was ironic how all this came together all at the same time. So I just want to draw attention to the fact that we do have that person as well as Captain Fernandez, and those are resources we have available to us, which I think is required that we have resources available to us. So I want to thank you very much, Mr. Patton. Again, you're a great resource, and you came in here at the right time tonight. This is another big step. We made some big steps tonight, and I'm very proud of these big steps that we're making. We keep making big steps, we'll get something. All right. So the board has had a chance to read this language access policy and plan. Now, on this is a I think that we can vote on this as a but I think that it may be good if we adopt this as an ordinance. I'm not sure, and if it is that we adopt this as an ordinance, it can't be adopted and brought up at the same night without 100% of everybody here, I believe, something like that. Isn't that right, Ms. Jackson? Okay, unless we do it unanimously, and unfortunately tonight we can't do it unanimously. But if we vote on it tonight, then at the subsequent meeting, we vote on it, and it'll be approved, and it will be a done deal. Is that in time, Mr. Patton?
We can take it up along with several other things we may have to update at the next meeting. But it's basically a policy.
Well, it's a policy, but but ordinance-wise, what it have teeth is that it just has never been brought up before. And if it hasn't been brought up before, it has come twice, I think. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Okay, you first.
I would want to investigate putting it in as an ordinance, because it may affect the things that we intend for it to affect. I don't have any problem adopting it as a policy, and we can look at it and at a later time if we, I think we should consult with our attorney before we adopt it as a policy anyway. But I would hate for something to happen and just not get done. I think it would be good to adopt this as a policy, and I'll be glad to make that as a motion.
All right, Mr. Dobson.
I guess my comments were similar to yours. The intent of this is positive. With this being just presented tonight, I'd like to know more about what the actual steps are we would have to take to comply with it, and the potential solutions we would have to comply with it, and then what those expenses would be, just to be sure I can pay for what I'm approving. So again, I don't think there's any issue with the intent. It's just understanding exactly what steps we would be taking before we put something in effect, and what the implications would be.
Any other comments?
Well,
Mr. Shields.
Is it required by law
I think that before you get any more money, it's gonna be required.
To receive the community development block grant funding, you will have to, this along with fair housing and other others.
We may adopt it as a policy. Well, I would still, if it's required, I don't see any need in putting it off. If we want to revisit it
As an ordinance.
as an ordinance, I think we need to check into that. But if it's required, I don't see any need in putting it off. And I'll still make a motion that we adopt this policy, as stated.
All right, I think, okay then, all right, well, let's, if there's no other comment, let's get a second to Mr. Shields' motion that this be adopted as a policy.
I'll second.
All right, it was seconded. Any other discussion? Mr. Patton?
I'd like to respond to Commissioner Dobson's request for information. I know of no true cost or hard cost, let's put it that way, that would be incurred by you fulfilling this policy. There's a poster that DCA will provide that will hand over to the town to use. It says that a person who doesn't speak English can then go and find the language on the poster and say that's the language I speak. Having an officer and other local resources, interpreters. Well, let me put it this way. You have resources available to you that would not cost you anything. So the hard cost, I don't think there's anything there. The soft cost is putting forth an effort, and what that, for instance, there's a section in the back, if you read it carefully, that says that during your normal new personnel orientation, or if you're doing training of existing personnel, that you will mention that it is the policy of the community to make an effort to help assist those folks who have a limited English proficiency. That effort, there's no hard cost to it, but it's an effort that you have to.
Let me give you an example.
Thank you, Mr. Dobson.
An example would be if this policy or an ordinance stretched beyond going after grants, and it stretched into how we deal with our community. If we were sending electric bills to somebody and they were saying, I can't read the electric bill, and we sent 3 notices and no response, and then we go to pull the meter out and they say, I don't understand English, you are required to find me, track me down, have an interpreter interpret this electric bill to me. That's just an example of something I don't want to get into. And so I want to totally understand what I'm committing to, not because the principle is not solid, but there may be times when it could be used inappropriately. And I just want to understand the ramifications. From Charlie's standpoint, it's adopting it as a policy for means of applying for grants is, I can vote for that tonight, but in terms of a policy for our community, I want to understand all the ramifications. And I,
Yes, sir, Mr. Shields.
As I understand policy, policy is not going to dictate law, I don't think. Okay, that's the way I understand the terminology.
You have something else to say?
no, I'm saying, I think that's,
Well, I think that that you raised some valid issues, but the example that you raised really, to me, just means that you pointed out something that we probably need to be concerned about, which is the light bill might need to be in both languages already, and it may be a law already that we have to do that. I don't know. But you pointed it out, and and that may already be a legal issue right there. But, I think that is not what we want, the message not what we want to send, is that in order to get the grant, we want to pass this as a policy, but we don't want to be bound by it to do it, which is the right thing to do. And I think that we could pass this as a town policy tonight and work by this. There's nothing in this that I've seen that's a hardship on anybody here or any exorbitant cost or anything involved in this. It's just a matter of doing business in a way which opens the community